Hey everyone, it's Ben. Happy Thursday. Hope everyone's doing well. Today is part 4 of my Stephen King Adaptions week, and that's where I take short stories and novels written by King that have been made into feature films. Today's movie will be Misery. This film came out in 1990, was directed by Rob Reiner, who also did Stand By Me and featured performances by James Caan and, of course, Kathy Bates. So stay tuned for the review. So we have Misery now, and Misery was released in the late fall, early winter of 1990. It was directed by Rob Reiner, who had successfully done Stand By Me 4 years prior. The film starred James Caan as Paul Sheldon, Kathy Bates as Annie Wilkes, Richard Farnsworth as Buster, Frances Sternhagen as Virginia, and Lauren Bacall as Marcia Sindel. It was the screenwriter was William Goldman, who adapted King's novel, and the story is about novelist Paul Sheldon. He's really well known for a popular series of books regarding a central character named Misery Chastain. He goes to a secluded cabin in Colorado to finish his most recent novel, which is a departure from the Misery Chastain books. And upon finishing this novel, he drives home and gets caught in a snowstorm and is in a horrific car accident. He is pulled from the wreckage by Annie Wilkes, a nurse who turns out to be an obsessed fan of the writer and series of books he is famous for. As she begins to nurse Sheldon back to health, he begins to realize how unstable she is and that her motive is to keep him as her prisoner. Now, Misery is a great movie. It's a tour de force performance by Kathy Bates, who was a small character actress at the time, but this movie really catapulted her into being a mainstream actor or actress in higher priority films. She is amazing as Annie Wilkes, and just completely creepy, and you just don't know what her next move is going to be. I've always been a huge fan of Kathy Bates. She's one of my favorite actresses, and this movie was really the one that just made me stand up and notice her, and I think a lot of people feel the same way. I mean, you just don't know what she's going to do, and that's what makes it even more terrifying. And the fact that Paul Sheldon, who James Caan does a brilliant job playing, is at her mercy because he can't walk, his legs are broken, his arm is broken, he can't do anything. And he's at the mercy of this woman who's supposed to be helping him get better, and all the time she's lying to him about contacting his family and contacting his publisher, and you know, it's just like you just feel like, what would you do in this situation? And it's really a terrifying movie without a lot of blood and gore. Now, William Goldman did a great job adapting the Stephen King novel into the movie. There are a few subtle changes that were made. Number one, the character of Buster, who is the sheriff, and his wife are not in the book at all. Neither is Miss Sindel, who is Paul Sheldon's publisher. The book is pretty much just the two characters of Annie and Paul, and what he is going through in this house with her as his caregiver. The other big change in the book and from the film, and I hope I'm not giving too much away by this, everybody pretty much knows about the hobbling scene in the movie where she breaks both his ankles with the log and the sledgehammer. In the book, she cuts off Paul's left foot and cauterizes the wound, which is a very disturbing scene to say the least when you read it. And originally William Goldman had it in the screenplay, but for reasons he didn't understand at the time, Rob Reiner decided to change it at the last minute to the hobbling scene that we now see. Now, as for the other characters in the movie, like I said, it's really just, you know, Paul and Annie, but Richard Farnsworth, who plays Buster the sheriff, is really good in the film too, and it's sad that he is no longer with us. But he plays the sheriff who's trying to figure out what happened to Sheldon, and he starts to piece together that Annie Wilkes might have something to do with it. And Francis Sturdhagen is great as his wife Virginia. They have great chemistry on screen. And Lauren Bacall is very good as the small role of Miss Sindel, his publisher, Paul Sheldon's publisher. Now, I've always been a fan of Misery the movie. I think it's one of Stephen King's best books. I think it's one of the best adaptions, and this is before Frank Darabont, I feel, became the best Stephen King adapter. I mean, Rob Reiner had hit two out of the park with Stand By Me and then Misery. And he does a great job directing a very different film from Stand By Me. It's a very claustrophobic, very terror-inducing situation that Paul Sheldon finds himself in, and how to deal with a woman that he can't predict what she's going to do, that he's helpless to really stop her because he can't move. I think it's just it almost puts you put yourself in that situation, and it's done very well, and it really complements the novel very well. I'm very happy with this film. I've always been a fan of it. Big fan of Kathy Bates, and yeah, just a great film all around, and a great book. So if you haven't seen Misery or even read it, I recommend reading it and watching the movie. I actually read the book after I watched the movie, but found both to just be wonderful pieces of art. So curious what your thoughts are about Misery. Feel free to leave me some comments, and tomorrow's going to be the last time I do a Stephen King adaptation to film. Curious what people think about this series. Like I said, every week I'm going to try something different, but I'm not sure about which film I want to do next, so I'm going to call upon you, the viewers or my fans, to let me know which ones you'd like me to review, since I've been sort of just flipping a coin as to which ones I'm going to review this week. I didn't really pick them at random. I mean, I kind of did pick them at random. I didn't really have a set way of doing this, so let me know what you guys want me to review, and based on the amount of people that comment and give me, like a certain film or whatever, I will do that one next. So again, thanks everyone for watching, and look forward to the final part of the series tomorrow. Have a nice evening. Take care.